I've always had an interest in pupils who have additional learning difficulties. I did my degree in psychology and I wanted to be an educational psychologist, but my journey didn't take me down that path. So I loved working with the families and seeing how the pupils progressed, seeing what made them come alive, I guess, has always been an interest of mine. And it's just been a natural journey really into working with children with additional learning needs. I've had the privilege of working with pupils from nursery, because I used to work in a primary school, right up to in secondary. So I like the fact that I can work with the families and be there for their whole journey. And for me, it's just about supporting the families and being on the end of the phone. And I feel like when you're working with families for a long time, you go through all the best parts and the worst parts together, and you do become very, very close to those families as well, which is really lovely to be part of their families in a way. So when I began with ALN, it was more of an interventions type work that I was doing, and then I became the Elenco, and that role has definitely changed and become more of an important role, a strategic role within a school. Also, there's more pupils with complex needs staying within the school, so you've got to learn quite a lot about them. But with every child that you work with, you just learn so much about that pupil's needs, and then that helps you for the next child as well. In terms of training, I've been so blessed in a way to have so much training on like Thrive, that was really helpful for me, and speech and language training, and training within the authority, but also Welsh Government training. So I'd say embrace all the training that you're given and go on everything and anything that you can find. But also learn with the pupils, learn with the families, learn from the speech and language therapists and the occupational therapists that are working with you. Take all of their advice on board, and that really helps. You need to be flexible, you need to be ready for the day and whatever it throws at you. You need to be very compassionate for the children that you work with, and also have that freedom to think outside the box, to think about what could happen and maybe try different things. And you need to have a lot of patience and understand that things don't come overnight. Things, you need to have a long time sometimes to see progress. So we always look at the individual first, and we do like personal centred planning around that child. And we've got to see what their interests are, what makes them tick, what makes them excited, what makes them enjoy life. And I think that's always a good way in to see what would be the best way to support this learner. We also look into the family and ask them what's their motivation for doing things, and that usually gives us an indication of how we can work with this child and get the best out of them. I think the expansion will be, it's much needed, and you can see that there are more learners with complex needs in Cardiff now. I think from a Welsh medium perspective, it's really important, and for us it's important that the pupils can stay within their communities. We've got children coming from lots of different areas, and it does make their sense of community quite hard, because they've had to leave their friends from their primary schools, and that can be a challenge for them. So the more schools that we can have in local areas, the better for the pupils and the families. I would definitely say go for it. I think it's probably the best career I've had. I feel really privileged that I've been able to work in this sector. It changes your life, so you've got to be ready for that. You've got to give it everything. But it is 100% worth it at the end.